We're going to get Hail Caesar now, the new film from the Coen brothers. It's got a massive cast, so it's only fair that we speak to a few of them. Here's George Clooney, Josh Brolin, Scarlett Johansson after this clip.
Say your line exactly as I'm about to, just as I'm about to do.
Sure, okay.
Would that it were so simple.
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 My dear boy, why do you say that? Why do you say twere?
Well, you should say it like I said it.
Yes.
Would that it were so simple.
Would that it were so simple.
Would that it were so simple. Would that it were so simple.
Watch my mouth. Would that it were so simple.
Would that it were so simple.
Keep your head still. Would that it were so simple.
Would that it were so simple.
Would that it were so simple.
I'm trying to say that, Mr. Lawrence.
Lawrence?
I thought a minute ago it was Lawrence.
No, we can use Christian names, my good dear boy. Lawrence is fine, just as I call you Hobie.
Okay.
So, would that it were so simple.
Would that it were so simple.
Would that it were so simple. Trippingly.
Would that it were so simple. Trippingly.
No, don't say trippingly. Say the line trippingly.
When you get their screenplay, basically that's the screenplay you shoot. They shoot literally only the shots that they're ever going to use. And they'll go, we'll only use it from here to here, so we'll just shoot that part. They've already edited the film in their heads. And it's incredible competence, and it's panned out for them because they make really wonderful films. With Joel and Ethan, this is the fourth film I've done with them. When I finished Burn After Reading with them, we said that I'd completed my trilogy of idiots. And then they brought me back for this one, which is I may be the dumbest I've ever been in it. He's just a clueless movie star, which I don't know, could never happen. And he's very guarded and very protected inside a studio system that he very much likes and is very comfortable in. So it's that kind of world. And I think most of the characters here are sort of in that world of used to being taken care of.
I think back then there was much more of a, I think because the public sort of, they wanted to believe that the movie stars that they were seeing up there on the screen were, in fact, as, sort of otherworldly and ideal as they were being projected. The studio did more to protect the image of their prize, their trophy stars. And, of course, the system was very different. Actors were living in a very different way. They were sort of like a product that was, loaned out or contracted forever. And, I think there were good things about it and there were bad things about it.
It's kind of amazing, the debauchery that was going on. We see all the debauchery going on now, and we think, well, why is it telling on the young people today and all that? And then you look back, and it was from the word go. When you give people blue-collar workers who were making $30,000 a year back then, $25,000 a year, and then suddenly they're making, because of the film business, within the first couple of years, 200 to 300, what would be the equivalent now, $300 million a year. I mean, can you imagine? It can't not go to your head. So I continue to work with the Coen brothers and be paid the least amount possible, so my ego doesn't get out of control.
That was George Clooney, Scarlett Johansson and Josh Brolin speaking about the brand new film from the Coen brothers, Hail Caesar, which is in cinemas now. What's it all about, Ryan?
Well, I'll tell you what it's all about.
Are you going to start singing the Spice Girls there?
No.
It's not Canadian, I'll tell you what it's all about.
I'll tell you what it's all about.
I'll tell you what it's all about.
So, Hail Caesar, another film directed by the Coens, who have done everything. Well, probably a lot of your favourite movies, from like Inside Llewyn Davis, Blood Simple, Big Lebowski, Fargo.
20th anniversary of Fargo this week.
Ah, yes, exactly. Yeah. And also starring Frances McDormand, who's in this. So we'll get. So Hail Caesar is basically a day in the life of Eddie Mannix, played by Josh Brolin.
Is it a day?
Today,
yeah, it's an entire day in his life. He's a studio fixer, and basically he is sort of getting through. He's sort of under assault from all these various problems that are happening in the studio. And the star of his new prestige picture, Hail Caesar, Baird Whitlock, played by George Clooney, a big idiot essentially. He's been kidnapped, so he's got to deal with that. There's also the Thacker twins, both played by Tilda Swinton, who are both looking for a scoop about Baird Whitlock. There's also Deanna Moran, played by Scarlett Johansson, her child, problems with her child. And then there's Lawrence, played by Ralph Fiennes, who is... What?
I was laughing at his name again.
Lawrence.
Lawrence.
It's Lawrence.
No, just say Lawrence. Yeah. Lawrence Lawrence, who has just been given a cowboy star, Hobie Doyle, to star in his new sort of, well, a very period piece. However,
melodrama.
Hobie Doyle, played by Alden Ehrenreich, who is very much the epitome of a a cowboy star. He's not really versed in the sort of dialogue.
He's like a
heavy.
stunt actor.
Yeah,
isn't he?
he's a stunt actor, so he doesn't really know. So it's Eddie Mannix sort of going through all these problems. Meanwhile, he's suffering at home because he never sees his wife. He's constantly going to the confessional because he feels like he's not being honest to his wife because he smokes a lot and he doesn't feel like he's getting there. And he's also under pressure from another company who want to hire him, and it'll be less hours, so it'll be a chance to see his wife even more. But his love for the movies is keeping him there. Now, in compared to the narrative style of other Coen's movies, it's extremely different because it's simple. This time, I think that's probably the best way to see it. Like,
yeah, Connie, you said it
compared
was a most conventional film.
Yeah,
when we left it.
I mean, especially compared to the last film, which was Llewyn Davis, which is a structural masterpiece in terms of its narrative. It's just like, that's just my humble opinion for that.
Yeah, the way it manages to weave the sort of cat storylines. I love that bit. So.
It's really, really cool.
Yeah.
Like,
But I mean,
offbeat experimental narrative in Llewyn Davis, and then this is just conventional. You've got a beginning, obstacles arise. Obviously, you said like he's dealing with all of these different murders, but the main thing is the Baird Whitlock story. That's the kind of overarching thing. Like the film kind of ends as the resolution for that approaches sort of thing. And then, as you say, it's just set over one day. Like it starts at like 5 a.m. for him, finishes when he leaves the studio at night. I think. Well, no, it goes into the second day, doesn't it? You see the start of the second day.
At the end of the film, it's the start of a second day.
Yeah. It's I thought it was pretty cool. It was nice for them to go back to basics. I think. Because they did it well. They do all of their stuff well, I think, the Coen brothers.
But I mean, even then, obviously, because it was more simple than a lot of their narrative styles in some of their films, it did have a bit of a fantasy edge to it because of the Michael Gambon voiceover, which sort of threaded through the film, and because it is based in the latter years of Hollywood's golden age, Hail Caesar, it does have a lot of that fantasy element too, and it does feel like, for me, obviously, despite the fact that the plot is a bit meandering and ultimately pointless when in face of a lot of the stuff, it does feel like everything that is happening happens to serve the big extravagant set pieces that are going on. I mean, there's Channing Tatum's sort of big
which we are going to play in the show.
Which we will play. It's sort of his big musical piece, and there's Scarlett Johansson's amazing sort of aquatic set piece, where that's about 5 minutes. The film doesn't seem to do anything but be show-offy, but that's fine because for me it does seem like a bit of a love letter to the time when Hollywood could make these wildly inventive films and they weren't under pressure from like focus groups or sequel mania or franchise expanded universe mania. You know,
we were speaking yesterday because you saw it separate to us, Joe, and he was saying he didn't really understand what the point of it was. Ryan argues that it's a love letter to the movies, and you said that doesn't work if that's the case.
It kind of feels like obviously it's set during what was it, 1940s, 1950s,
like the later years of the
later years, yeah. And it just, I don't know. I mean, obviously it's simple narrative, but it kind of feels like it's more of a amongst it kind of thing. With you got all these types of different genres. You got the Busby Berkeley genre type like musical and stuff like that, and you've got the big European director from the 50s. Cause they did what's his name, the Cowboy, that was like a weekly basis type of film, and they did have to stick to a certain schedule. But Lawrence's character,
played by the excellent Ralph Fiennes.
Absolutely brilliant. He's trying to make Face the Giant, trying to make a big kind of arty European meaningful film, not just one that the cowboy character would do.
Word the tourists stuff.
But I don't know. I mean, there's all the stuff with the future and stuff like that, which is entertaining. But I'm still kind of figuring it out. I really don't know what it was all.
I think go on.
Don't take it away, man.
I just feel like compared to a lot of the Coen's movies, I do feel like it's one of the more honest ones. Because it's essentially it is about people. I mean, Eddie Mannix is a very sort of honest man. He always go into the confessional booth, like I say, just because of smoke, and it's no real crime or sin. He's just worried that he's not telling his wife that he is smoking, but that's the deal because of the stress of being this studio fixer and the fact that his star's just been kidnapped and he's dealing with all these other problems. But it does feel like exceedingly honest. I mean, I didn't expect that Josh Brolin was going to be the main character going into it, because the trailer sort of sells it as being Clooney's film, and that's what you'd expect it to be, because obviously he is the main star, the biggest star in the film. But it's not. It's the story of him, and it is very honest in that way. And I mean, the period detail, the attention to detail, the production. Oh yeah, it's brilliant. It's easily one of the most beautiful looking films that the Coens have done, and definitely think that it is perfectly cast for what it tries to do. I mean, I know Joe was amazed by Alden.
He was the best thing in the film.
I mean,
I enjoy it. Yeah, hands down. I enjoyed
I think his scenes with the girl have set him up. They're quite tender as well, aren't they?
Again, it's because he is so earnest in what he does. He's got a heart of gold, and he's trying to impress the girl that he's been thrown into the situation where he's gone from just being a pretty face who can sing and dance a little bit in his cowboy films to being required to do like these masses of dialogue in an entirely new world, and that just fits in with the whole thing. About
I really loved the bit when he's playing the song, and he says to the girl beforehand, he's like, the guitar was out of tune and he just had to learn the song. It's like it's really cute.
I absolutely adored the date scene as well. That was that was fantastic.
But to kind of contrast what you're saying about what's the kind of point of it, I think it's just I think the film is, like you say, it's about Eddie Mannix.
Yeah.
He's the central force behind it. He's at the center of everything. He's at the center of this storm of chaos, and he's like it's about a human struggle. It's about like finding meaning in something that might seem pointless. It's what the priest says in the booth at one point. He says, like, do you do what's right even if it's hard? And it's about what feels right for him. It's about what he feels true to doing, which is making movies. Yeah, he might be paid less now than what he might be able to do. He might have really bad hours, and he does, but at the end of the day, he's doing what he loves, and I think that's the important thing. It's like every Coen Brothers film; it's about a search for meaning.
Well, there's a lot of sort of thematic resonance in there with like faith and God. And I mean, obviously Eddie Mannix is a very religious man, and I got sort of contrast to the fact that in Hail Caesar they are sort of dealing with God and Jesus, and there's all the conversation with all of the different priests and different religions at the start, where they're all arguing about what God is, and then there's that divine presence to be shot thing at the start, which is like, and it's in the trailer, so it's not a spoiler, but it does feel like one of the most earnest films that the Coens have done, and I think that's why I liked it so much, because it is consistently funny, it's beautifully made, and even though it's not really complex and it's not really challenging in terms of what the Coens have sort of set their landmarks out to do as filmmakers, it just did seem like a well-told story in that aspect, that it was a bit simpler but more focused on humanity and honesty and different themes like that.
I liked all of the I think I like most of all the individual bits on their own, and then kind of together it didn't quite gel. Tilda Swinton needs to mention, she was terrific in the dual role as the pair of critics who are always going for the same scoop.
The gossip columnists.
Yeah.
Oh no! Don't call them that.
Don't call them. God forbid.
She's terrific in everything she does, but she's particularly brilliant in this. I like Channing Tatum's scene, which we are going to play later on. Jonah Hill didn't get much to do.
I think that was disappointing. I'm a huge fan of Jonah Hill at the minute. I think that he, in the one scene he had, was great.
Yeah. And I think the scene with Scarlett Johansson, while it doesn't have very, very little bearing on the story, I thought it was very well done.
It was like a mini little reference to Singing in the Room, basically, wasn't it? You get all this extravaganza, then you get a voice like Date.
Yeah.
And it doesn't talk like that.
But no, I don't know whether to recommend Hail Caesar or not yet. I might see it a second time. That's the sort of liberty we have, isn't it? But you guys, Connor, I'll start with you. Recommend or not?
Oh, definitely. I think it's a great kind of dark comedy that just like it's a play on human struggle. I think that what you say about things not gelling together, I think that's kind of in reference to this chaos. Like at any moment in that film, Eddie Mannix could have broken. He could have broken down and screamed and spat his dummy out and just quit and got the better job. Yeah. But because he was doing what he loved, he went for it, and I'd definitely recommend it purely off the back of that. The
real Eddie Mannix was supposedly far worse than this. Far worse tasks in this. I don't know what they are, but supposedly, this film sort of glamorized what he did a little bit. Ryan?
I'd absolutely recommend it. I generally think it might be one of my favourite Coens.
Really?
Like top 5, I really do think.
Big bold statement, Joe.
I highly recommend it.
Highly recommend it. So there you go. I think across the board, go see Hail Caesar.